Hello, I'm Dennis Gaub, a Montana-based journalist and book author. I'm writing my second book titled Buzzing the Deck aboard Susie-Q. Jim Murray's daring flight helps win the Battle of Midway. It's the life story of fellow Montanan Jim Murray. He was an Army Air Force pilot in the Pacific Theater of World War II. Jim took off at dawn on June 4, 1942 from Midway with his B-26 medium bomber nicknamed Susie-Q, the same nickname he had given his wife Alice. Jim and his 6 crew members were given a course to follow and a vague description of their target, Japanese shipping. They didn't know they would encounter an approaching Japanese fleet commanded by Admiral Nagumo. It was perhaps the most powerful naval fleet assembled in history. My book will describe this memorable flight in which Susie-Q's torpedo was launched, the plane buzzed the deck of the carrier Kaji, and then outran pursuing Japanese airplanes. Murray skillfully piloted the plane with 3 injured crew members back to relative safety at Midway. There, the crew discovered the plane was riddled by more than 500 bullet holes from anti-aircraft and Zero fighter plane fire. Susie-Q never flew again. All 7 Susie-Q aviators, along with 21 more on 3 other B-26s that participated in the mission, were awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. Jim retired from the Air Force in 1959. A decade later, he and Alice came back to his beloved Montana. They bought acreage along Bridger Creek in south central Montana. From their home, they could gaze at the Crazy Mountains to the north and the Beartooth Range to the south. Jim was interviewed at his Bridger Creek home in 1992 by a representative of the B-26 Marauder Historical Society. The video footage is archived at the University of Akron, which gave permission for its use. This clip is part of that footage. Alice Murray died in 2001 in Billings, Montana. Jim Murray died also in Billings at age 94 in 2013. His passing merited a story on National Public Radio that featured an interview with his daughter, Sylvia Sadady. Newspapers around the country carried the Billings Gazette's Murray obituary, and the New York Times published its own obituary. In this clip, Jim describes his first experience with a B-26.
At the end of the Louisiana maneuvers, we went back to Langley Field, but I was diverted to San Antonio to pick up an airplane that had been damaged and had undergone major repair. And when I returned to Langley, the organization as a whole had converted to the B-26. B-25s were being phased out, and the B-26s came in. And there were B-26s sitting everywhere on the ramp at Langley Field. My first experience with a B-26 was a friend of mine named Lieutenant Mike Michaelis came out and said, "Let me introduce you to your new airplane." And there, sitting on the ramp, was, along with many others, was an old clip-wing B-26 with a tail number 13. And we crawled up in the cockpit, and Mike says, "Now here's the way you start it." And he showed me the procedure for starting the airplane. A brand new co-pilot was assigned. And he says, "There's 2 or 3 things you should remember about the airplane. One, it's all electric. So if you have trouble on takeoff, you must throw this switch and this switch and do this and do that. Your approach speed should not be under 150 miles an hour. So go fly." And we did. Well, that was an experience.